Okay, so what you shouldn't do, okay, you just, same thing with your kicks when I was saying bringing them back, okay? You don't throw your punches, it's even in your practices, and especially in your fights, you don't throw your series, your flurry, or whatever, and then you just walk back and you back out, okay? You back out guarded, very critical, back out guarded, okay? Practice that. Imagine punches are coming at you. You threw your flurry, and a typical response from an opponent when you're throwing down or you're throwing your flurry is for them to match your flurry. If you don't know this, have a look again and you'll see that. It happens all the time. And then somebody gets clocked out of, bad luck. It's just, connection and timing, and really not a fan of that because there's not a lot of skill involved with that. It's two people throwing 13 punches in 4 seconds. If you can avoid that, you're in control. So, again, what am I doing here? Not just throwing a kick and then just, walking away, taking my sweet time. No, see? Throw your kick, be guarded, be prepared. Imagine right after you threw your kick, your opponent threw a kick. Okay? Here you're getting jammed. See? Drop the foot down immediately. Be dominant with it. Slam the foot down. This is something a lot of people don't practice. You catch yourself. Catch yourself when you're doing your punt, when you're doing your kicks. Okay, you spend a lot of effort throwing that kick properly, executing it great, and then once it's done with that first half, okay, it kind of just finds its way back down to the ground. Nah, that's not. It's not how it is, especially at the elite level. Okay, because it's all about timing, especially if you're dealing with a grappler. You keep that foot loose, you take your sweet time bringing that foot down, and he shoots you. Shoots forward, boom, takes you down. Practice your thrusts, practice your timing, be explosive, be able to go from calm and a lulling type movement to an explosive, fast movement. And obviously, you don't want to be sloppy in your explosions. You want to be able to mix up your paces. Always keep in mind that you want to keep your facial expressions consistent as well. So, yeah, remember that out of breath type thing? Oh, believe me, I've used that a lot in sparring, having fun. And it works like a charm. And I do practices on the ground as well. Make sure you practice on the ground. Have you ever thrown a kick while you're on the ground? Have you ever thrown your punches on the ground? Start practicing them. When are you on the ground? Doesn't matter. Obviously, you don't want to be weak or have deficiencies or neglect any type of thing. But a perfect example is side times when a fight gets thrown to the ground or you just fall to the ground. A perfect example is when you're at the beach or at the park, laying down. So, if you've ever kicked somebody when they're down and you're not a piece of shit for doing so, it was legit. But if you ever kick somebody when you're down, it's not like the movies. It's not a clean stomp. Your foot doesn't go through the person. You smack and bounce off of their body and stuff, and you have a high chance of losing balance. I've seen it happen a lot. Snap the kick down. And I wouldn't say do the Bruce Lee one. See, that's an example of, that's what happens. If you ever seen somebody try to do a Bruce Lee stomp, okay, on a body, that's what really happens most of the time, okay? And you wind up slipping off of them. So snap it and back. I probably wouldn't recommend, I don't recommend actually throwing kicks to people on the ground. It's not good. It's actually very, very vulnerable. And if you don't catch yourself when you're doing it, if you're not in too much control, you're going to find yourself cocking back, really chambering to wail on a person in that position. It's not good. In really skillful fights that I've had, I've waited for a person to get back up because that's how I'm in the most control. And if you're dealing with somebody and you're really dealing in a hard fight, you don't know when you're being baited in. So, and if you're not a grappler, okay, you definitely don't want to go into somebody's, wheelhouse, their power zone or whatever. So, I don't like freaking out and trying to do some massive kind of stomp or whatever. Okay, if I don't think that person is incapacitated and I think they're still ready to go, okay, I'll give them a chance to get up then. And this is a perfect opportunity you for to look around and see what's going on as well. Okay, chi. Chi, you know how to churn that chi? Have you ever read about it? You don't have to be a massive Tai Chi practicer to understand the concept behind it and stuff. Instead of cocking back and throwing your haymaker, okay, using torque, using twists and turns and leverage within your body can generate that power. Make sure you do have sessions where you're throwing really hard punches. And when you do throw those hard punches, I don't want you to be able to throw them because your whole entire body is tense. Okay? Practice your peripheral so you see your vision as well. Okay? Very, very basic layman mistake. When somebody's throwing a move and you're backing away from it or trying to defend from it, you throw your hands out. Terrible, especially to kickers. And especially if somebody picks up on that and knows that that's what you do, they're going to fake you and get your hands to come out, and then they're going to slip something terrible in. Okay? You can bring your hands out to a certain degree. Practice and study and analyze what that safe zone is, where if somebody throws something, you could bring your punches out, you can bring your block out to meet it to a certain point. But after that certain point, it becomes vulnerable and weak. So know that distance. The hook. So here we're talking about the hook. I'm not a big fan of the classic textbook hook. No offense to trainers who do things right, but I see a lot of trainers just going off the book because boxing is great exercise. So, and it is. But what they do is this classic really textbook mechanical hook. And at the very least, when you're looking at that hook, you realize that hook is not hitting anybody unless they're, inches from your face. So practicing the stances, doing the turnaround. You want my expert advice, okay? Don't turn around in a fight. Get that out of your head. Get that in the movies, in sparring or whatever. If you're dealing with somebody who has a lot of skill, okay, the moment you turn around, you've just given them precedence, you've just given them the advantage, and you're probably going to get your ass handed to you. I'll tell you that much. That's for sure. Don't make it a habit of turning it around in any fight where the stakes are high. In any real fight, I wouldn't recommend turning around. Turnaround sidekicks at the I slipped that in. I practice turnaround sidekicks, yes, okay, but even still, the high chance of being off target with the turnaround side. There's a high chance if you're dealing with multiple attackers, man. If somebody bumps you as you're trying to do some turnaround nonsense, it's not good. So here, okay, don't just be linear, moving forward and back. I know your space might be limited and stuff. Mine is often, but believe me, I spend way more time in 360 with a 360 option. And then when I am in more confined spaces, I'll practice forward and back. But then also just switch your position when you're practicing it. You don't have to do these big sweeping circles if you don't have the room to, but make sure that you do get something in. So to rotate, because people don't just stand right in front of you all the time. They move to the side. So you got to be able to move to the side as well. Okay? Different positions that you can keep your fist. Some people like to keep the fist really forward, okay? But they're still not squared up. Keeping the lead and the power, your cross forward lends itself to being squared up. Some people, that is a style, being squared up. If your hands are really forward, you might not get as much power out of them and stuff. If your hands are all the way back, you might not get as much defensive option or be as quick to block.